Hello, I'm Lauren Green, and you're in the Strategy Room. An alliance is forming among the Republican presidential hopefuls. Jeanne Kasich and Ted Cruz announcing they will team up to slow GOP frontrunner Donald Trump in upcoming primary contests in New Mexico, Oregon, and Indiana. Trump reacted to the news in a tweet late Sunday saying, quote, "Wow, just announced that Lion, Ted, and Kasich are going to collude in order to keep me from getting the Republican nomination. Desperation." Well, joining me now with their reaction are Iona College professor Jeanne Zaino and Republican strategist Robert O'Brien. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Okay, so Jeanne, what do you
here, Lauren?
Jeanne, I want to ask you first. What do you think about this arrangement?
It seems like they are colluding together to ensure that they get to this brokered or fractured.
Yes, Trump's word.
Colluding. And you know, I think it is. You know, I understand why they're doing it. They have every right to do it. I don't know if it is going to be successful because I think this is something that they may have needed to do earlier in the process before he got so close. You know,
Ted Cruz's campaign said they approached Kasich about this weeks ago, but he wasn't quite ready for it.
He wasn't ready, and you know, I think this does put them in a tough position. You know, do I think they can hold him under 1237? Absolutely, it's possible to hold him under 1237. But I think, are they going to hold him under enough that they are able to make the case going into there that, you know, we should keep him from getting this nomination? I think that's going to be a lot tougher. I think if he gets, you know, over 1100, it's very tough for them to make that case, even though technically you've got to get a majority to win on the first ballot.
Robert, this reminds me of that phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know, will this plan even work in these states?
Well, I think it's a sign of both strength and weakness for Mr. Trump. I mean, Donald Trump has really benefited from having a fractured field. I think if it had been a head-to-head Trump-Cruz race, if you go back and look at the Rubio and Kasich delegates, he'd probably be even or leading Donald Trump right now. So Trump hasn't been able to seal the deal with a majority of Republicans, yet he's got a lot of momentum right now coming out of New York, and he'll do well on Tuesday. So it looks like the other candidates, Senator Cruz and Governor Kasich, are trying to put together this plan to ensure that the majority of Republicans who aren't for Donald Trump have a shot to deal with it at the convention. Obviously, it remains to be seen how it'll play out, you know, in New Mexico and Indiana and Oregon. You know,
Jeanne, you know, one of the problems here is that the Republican voters have to sort of play along like pawns in this scheme. I mean, how do you think they're going to respond to this?
You know, this is where I think the challenge is for Kasich and Cruz, and I think that Donald Trump has the PR leg up, if you will, because I think that Republican voters, even those who may not be, you know, incredibly supportive of Trump or excited about him, are going to look at something like this and say, let us vote. This is politics as usual. Let us have our vote for who we want, and let the majority winner or the plurality winner win. And you look at the polls and you look at what the voters have been saying on the Republican side. You know, as much of an argument as the GOP has to say these rules have been in place, you've got, you know what, 6 out of 10 Republican voters saying the person who gets the most votes should get the nomination. So I think from that perspective, this plays right into Trump's hands. Of course, he's got to be very careful not to go overboard. I mean, the tweet that you mentioned, you know, he's got a danger of looking unpresidential.
Well, see, this is
that's a challenge for him.
And Robert, I want you in on this because, you know, one of the things that happened with Donald Trump is that it sort of shows that he has a lack of strategy. I mean, this knee-jerk kind of tweet is not a strategy. I mean, should he have a plan to counteract this?
Well, we heard a lot after the New York primary speech that Donald Trump was becoming more presidential. He referred to Ted Cruz as Senator Cruz and Governor Kasich. Now he's back on Twitter talking about lying Ted. It doesn't look particularly presidential. And he's having a real problem in the Midwest and the West. He has not done well there. He's done well in the Northeast. He's done well in the Deep South. But he hasn't done well in the traditional heartland of America, the flyover states that are big Republican states. Those folks are you know, they like to see presidential temperament, and so I think Cruz and Kasich have picked the right states to do this. With Indiana, you've got Nebraska coming up, you've got Oregon and New Mexico. These are traditional Republican states, good government type places that may not, Donald Trump's brash style may not appeal there, and so they probably picked the right states to enter into this deal.
Hey, and so Jeanne, real quickly, do you think he can kind of pull out of this sort of reaction to create a strategy, and what should that be?
The strategy should be that he needs to go fight hard, as Paul mentioned, in these states that are coming up as you get to the Midwest and the West. And, you know, he brought in Paul Manafort, this new campaign manager or strategist. They've got to prove that they can win outside the Deep South, outside the Northeast. We have yet to see that really happen, although we've got to give him credit. He won huge in New York, and he's won huge around the country. It's those states, particularly Indiana, that may give him some trouble.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Jeanne and Robert, for being here.
Thank you.
And for complete coverage of the 2016 presidential race, go to foxnews.com. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.